Hello everyone. Good morning. So this is Bismillah Kani. I'm an AI researcher at CellStrat, and welcomes to today's webinar on the topic of infrastructure as code using AWS CDK. Let's get started. So today I will primarily walk you through and explain the different concepts of AWS CDK using this block style presentation. I do not have a PPT as such. Uh, yeah, so that is the format for today's presentation. So let's get started. Um, Let me just move this here. Okay. Okay. Um, so let's start with getting to know what is AWS CDK. Okay. So like what is AWS CDK? So AWS CDK is a stands for a Cloud Development Kit, and it is an open source framework that is developed by Amazon Web Service (AWS). And the purpose of this AWS CDK is to create and deploy the required resources for your application using an imperative style programming imperative style programming using your familiar languages like Python or JavaScript or any other familiar programming language usually how this infrastructure as code is being done is either they use a declarative style code, so which means that you actually tell what is your desired state that you want, and you declare those desired state in the form of templates. So those templates can be either an YAML template or it can be a JSON template, right? So this is like declarative style. Now, another way to do is an imperative style programming, where typically you code your infrastructure using your familiar programming language as Python. So you code to create what resources you want or what state you want to achieve. So that is the basic difference between a declarative style programming and an imperative style coding. Yeah, so now let's move on, and so let's take a step back and then see like how this infrastructure is created in AWS cloud, right? The typical way is to create the infrastructure manually. So that is how you start, like when you start your cloud applications, and that is how you create your resources. And what you do is you get into your AWS management console, and you deploy your resources directly there by going into different GUI interfaces. Let's take, for example, how do you create an S3 bucket? For that, what you do, you log into your AWS account and you click create bucket and you open a form, and that form will be looking like something like this, right? And in this form you say what is your bucket name, right? And then you select the region where you want to create your bucket. Okay, and then you define what is your access control list. Okay, either you want to disable it or you want to enable it, then you have to define what are the access control list, what is the read permit and what is the write permit. But then also you have to create your bucket policy, right? So there are like a lot of steps that you have to take care before you create a bucket. Now this is fine. right? And this is how we all start to create resources in AWS account. But just imagine that when you want to scale this and when you want to build an enterprise level application, right? Then this actually becomes very difficult to manage and maintain, because in an enterprise level infrastructure you will be creating multiple applications, and this multiple each applications will have like multiple stacks, and that has many resources. There will be like n number of buckets, n number of lambda functions, or n number of endpoints, API gateways you want to create and maintain. Now this process will become tedious when you are taking a manual infrastructure deployment, and this is not reliable at all, and it will also not consistent, um, and it is not reproducible also. That the reproducibility is a question mark, because since it is a manual, it is error prone and the maintenance becomes a nightmare, right? So I think we all can agree on this process. Now, how can we improve this process? How can we go from a manual to a more automated way? The answer to this question is the infrastructure as code. So,
Maybe you can increase the font a bit.
okay. Mm,
Control plus won't do it, huh? Yeah.
is this better?
Full width looks better, yeah.
Okay. Or I can just take this and I think this is better, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so let's continue from where we started. So we were actually talking about infrastructure as code, right? We looked into what is the typical manual process of creating resources in AWS, and what are the limitations, what are the disadvantages of manual process of creating infrastructure. So now a better way is to automate this, and in order to automate the deployment, we have to go to infrastructure as code process. Now, infrastructure as code process is basically a provisioning and managing the resources programmatically. And this programmatically can be either a declarative style, or it can be an imperative style programming, right? And that is where we are going into see how AWS CDK uh, achieves an imperative style programming to implement infrastructure as code. Okay. Um, So for AWS, the infrastructure as code is implemented in AWS Cloud Formation. So this is the deployment automation services provided by AWS. And this AWS Cloud Formation, what it takes as input is an Cloud Formation template. So you have to create a Cloud Formation template. You have two options: either you can create it in YAML format, or you can create it in a JSON format. For example, let's say that you want to create an S3 bucket, right? And how do you create this how do you how do you create this YAML format is how is shown in here, right? So this is a typical cloud formation template in YAML format. So you have the mandatory field in an YAML format for this cloud formation template is this resources. If there is no resources, it will not accept that format. This is a mandatory field. So this is an mandatory to have in your YAML. There should be at least one resources in your cloud formation template. So in this YAML template, there is one resources, that is the S3 bucket, and you define the properties of these resources, like what is the access control you want, what is the delete policy, right? And what is the bucket policy you want to create, all those things, etc. and etc. And then using this YAML template, you go to the AWS Cloud Formation service, import this YAML template into that, and it will create the S3 bucket for you. So you don't have to go to the web console, click all different buttons and enter different fields and create an S3 bucket. So this YAML template will take care of that. Now, what is the advantage of using a cloud formation template? Is that generally for a we'll see the benefits of infrastructure as code, is that you get a better visibility of what resources are created, and then it will act as a single source of references for all your resources in your application, right? So if you go for manual, you have to go to different services and check what are the resources have been created for this application. But this is in one single cloud formation template, where your all your resources are organized in an template, so you get a full visibility of your entire application resources, and web console is not required. And it achieves a stability, because if you want to make modification to your application, then you make some changes, but let's say that changes break your application, then you have a previous stable version that was working before, then you can quickly roll back to the previous stable version. But if it is a manual process, and if you are making changes, and then if somehow something breaks, it will be a nightmare to troubleshoot which causes this break. You have to go and manually check all the logs and go and fix the fix the problem that it causes this break. And then it also achieves scalability and reusability, because it all your resources are in your one single YAML template. You can just clone this YAML template and apply deploy your entire application into a different region if you want, or into different AWS account if you want, or if you want to create multiple applications of the same template, then that also is possible. So reusability and scalability is another advantage. Yeah. So now it all looks good. Like the infrastructure as code is achieved in AWS using Cloud Formation as that is a service, and it is achieved using Cloud Formation template. Uh, but is there a better way to do it? Right now, this YAML template, creating and writing and will it is not as intuitive as how you will write a Python program, right? uh, can we write can we create this resources using a Python programming language or any other programming language that you're familiar with? The answer to that question is AWS CDK. So AWS came with this cloud development kit, which uses an imperative style of creating your resources. So CDK is built on top of AWS Cloud Formation Service. So this basically is the core engine of AWS CDK, right? But only thing is,
Bismillah, we are not able to hear you. Bismillah, are you there?
I think he has muted Vivek.
Bismillah, you are muted.
Okay, I don't know
Oh,
how it
now
got
you are
muted.
back. Now you are back.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. I'm really sorry about that. Okay, it got somehow muted. So what I was discussing before, so I was telling about AWS CDK. Okay, so the CDK is actually built on top of this cloud formation service, and this is basically the engine for your AWS CDK. Okay, so only advantage is that you don't have to write YAML templates. You can write your resources in your favorite programming languages like Python, Java. Okay, and AWS CDK will create the cloud formation template for you. Now let us understand how this AWS CDK works. Now the basic, it has three main components. One is the construct, another is a stack. Okay, and then okay. So one is the construct, another is a stack, and then top of that is a app. So the basic building block of CDK is the construct, right? So these constructs are your resources, your AWS resources. So your AWS resources, for example, could be an Amazon S3 bucket, or it could be an Lambda function, or it could be an XQS queue, or it could be a DynamoDB table. Okay, now you can organize different resources into logical groups and make one construct, right? And then you can define dependencies between different constructs or different resources, and then you can define interdependency between different constructs. All that is possible. Now a stack uh, is the smallest unit of deployment in AWS CDK. Okay, and multiple constructs constitute a stack. Okay, so there could be like a data ingestion stack. Let's say a data ingestion stack could have an AWS S3 bucket where it will store your data, and there could be an AWS Lambda function that basically scrap your data or reads the data from the data source and then do some processing and then puts the data back into your S3 bucket. Okay, all these constructs can be arranged and organized, and then that forms your data ingestion stack. And multiple stacks, there can be another, let's say, a model inference stack. Okay, that might have your let's say SageMaker endpoint, right? That could be a SageMaker endpoint, there could be an API gateway, there could be a Lambda. That becomes a model inference stack. Now all these stacks will be put together into your application, and that becomes your AI app. Okay, and this is how you construct. And once you build your constructs, your stacks, and your app, then the AWS CDK will generate the cloud formation template for you, because the AWS Cloud Formation services will take only the Cloud Formation template and create resources you. So the AWS CDK takes this code, CDK code, and creates a Cloud Formation template for you. This is basically an YAML template, and the AWS Cloud Formation service converts this Cloud Formation template into resources. So these resources will become like your S3, one will be Lambda, all those things will be there. It will be deployed for you. So this is an overall view of how CDK works. We will get into the details, then you will know, like how you will understand better. So as I mentioned, AWS CDK, the construct is the basic building blocks. Okay, these are like high level components that are pre-configured, and they also come with tested and proven defaults that makes your deployment and creating resources much easier. Okay, you don't have to know each and every detail of AWS resources. Okay, now every programming language has its own AWS constructs library or API references, and you can have your Python, Java, everything has its own API to create these constructs. But before that, we have to understand that there are three levels of constructs. Okay, so first is L1 constructs or the level 1 constructs, and then there is level 2 constructs and the level 3 constructs. So L1 construct was the lowest level. So they actually are the direct representation of your cloud formation resources. Okay, so in this you have to configure your AWS resources all by yourself by giving what resources you want, what name you want, what ACL configuration you want, what bucket policy you want. Okay, everything is user defined. Now there is another high level construct called L2. Okay, which is basically the next level of L1 constructs, but it comes with a default, which means that you don't have to create each and every configuration by yourself. You just have to tell, hey, I need only S3 bucket. Okay, so it comes with a boilerplate and then with proven defaults, so you don't have to worry about it. So which means that the building your resources becomes much more easier and faster. And then there is a L3 construct, which means that it creates patterns. There are like frequently used patterns. Those have multiple constructs put together that works together. For example, if you want to build an pattern which has AWS API gateway and a lambda, right, which has a lambda function and an API gateway. You don't have to build this as an L2 construct and this as an L2 construct. You just have to import this as an L3 construct, which will come all implemented for you. So which means if there are some frequently used pattern, you can use that is already readily available for you to consume. Okay, so now let's take an example how this constructs are coded in Python. Now let's take a simple example that you want to create an S3 bucket. So then what you do is you create a stack, and then you say that I want S3 bucket. That's it. And then you just give a name, and then it has all the proven defaults for you, and this S3 bucket is created for you in your cloud. We will see that in action, don't worry. And then there is a stacks and apps that we already see that. So stack is basically, as I explained, it is the smallest unit of deployment. Okay, so you can have multiple stacks put together into your apps. So here, for example, I have one stack called stack 1, another stack called stack 2. Now this all stacks comes under this app, and that is app is synthesized. So in order to summarize, we saw what is infrastructure as code, what is CDK. Okay, in CDK, what we saw, the main components are the constructs, right? In constructs, we have different types. We have L1, we have L2, we have L3. And then the smallest unit of deployment is the stack. And then your app is the overall uh, application of your CDK. Okay, this is so for me. Now, how do we achieve that in practice? And that is where we have CDK Toolkit. So CDK tool is a command line interface tool. you have to install it, and using this CDK command line interface toolkit, you can create your entire application using Python code. Okay, so CDK tool is a command line tool which is primarily used to provision and manage your AWS CDK app. So it takes care of executing the app, generates the CloudFormation template for you, and it also deploys and it also destroys the application for you. So we'll see that in action. Before that, we'll see how to set up your CDK. In order to set up AWS CDK, you have to install AWS CLI command line tool. Okay, and then you should have an AWS account and user, and you should have administrative access. And then AWS CDK is basically a request Node.js, and that's just a prerequisite. So you can use either VS Code as your IDE, and then Python 3.6 or later is required. And how do you install it? You install it using the command npm install. Okay, and then AWS CDK is installed for you. Okay, now I have already installed AWS CDK in my command line. So once you install npm install, then you have to just check whether you have installed it correctly. So using this command, CDK version, right? So you have, as you can see, I have already installed AWS CDK. Now, what are different commands? So you can basically get all the commands from here. Okay, so it has a lot of commands like CDK list, CDK synthesize, bootstrap, deploy, init, all those things. And also these are the commands, and these are the options for each commands. Okay, so I have given an quick cheat sheet kind of table here where for the most frequently used commands. So ls lists the stacks in your app. Synthesize is the one you will use to generate the CloudFormation template, and bootstrap is something you have to do for the very first time, because the AWS will install all the prerequisite CDK required dependencies into your AWS account. Okay, otherwise the other commands cannot work. And this is basically the deploy function. It will deploy entire app into your AWS account. Now when you want to destroy your entire application, you use destroy. And init is to create a new CDK project. And difference is when you want to compare two different versions.
See, what does deploy mean? Will deploy mean it will go ahead and create the infrastructure, the various AWS services, or it will
Yes,
just
yes.
create the YAML file?
No. It will create the entire resources stack.
Okay.
Synthesis will create the YAML file.
So you are saying with destroy, I can just deprovision all the resources?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So now we'll see it in practical how we are going to do it. Okay, so now I have already created and tested it, but I'm going to delete this. Okay, so it is already opened here. Let's say I deleted it.
But let's say you use this technique and then you manually intercepted the AWS services to manage them or make changes. Now, but will it still remain under CDK control, or you lost control with CDK?
It will remain because you have the name, right? You just have the resources name. Okay,
Okay.
and then it is going to delete everything.
Okay.
So suppose if you create a lambda function, okay,
Hmm.
that lambda function is called my lambda function.
Hmm.
and then you go and change the code inside. You make some code changes directly into the AWS console.
Hmm.
So now if I say destroy, every resources has a unique identifier, right? Only that
Hmm.
will so that identifier still remains the same,
Okay.
unless you don't change that identifier.
Right.
When I say destroy, it will destroy that resource.
Got it.
Okay. So now let us get into action, and then we'll take questions. I know once only if you see it in practical, because this is not an theoretical webinar, it's more of a practical thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow these instructions in this blog, and I'm just going to create a directory called CDK workshop. Okay, and then I am going to cd into my,
No, but what interface are you using? You are logged into AWS.
no, it is just a Windows PowerShell,
I
just
see.
a terminal, just a Windows terminal.
But is it connected to your AWS account somehow?
Yes, it should be connected. Okay,
Okay.
so
Okay.
to connect that, you need to actually use AWS. So you have to first install AWS CLI. Okay,
Hmm.
and once that is there, just type whether your AWS is there.
Hmm.
Okay, my AWS CLI is there. Okay, now then what you have to do is AWS configure. Once you type AWS configure, it will ask for your access key,
Hmm.
and it will ask for your secret key. Okay, I'm
Hmm.
not doing it in once you have done, then it will ask for your region, all those things. Then once you have done, it will be connected to your AWS.
Got it. So
Okay,
from your Windows, you are accessing your AWS.
yes,
Okay.
for me that is already done. So okay, I'm not doing it in front of screen because for security reason I'm not doing it.
Right.
Maybe a side note that I actually faced an account compromisation issue in my AWS account. Okay, and then now I am, from that incident onwards, I'm a little bit careful. Okay. Okay, so now where are we? Yes, so now we created a directory and we are into that directory. Okay, and then I have to create an CDK project. Okay, so now this command will create a sample CDK project for you. Okay, you can also create it from scratch, but for the keeping in mind the time, I'm just using an ready-made template. So
So
if I say,
Bismillah, theoretically, we run CellStrat Hub, right? We could do it from CellStrat Hub command line. We have a terminal interface in CellStrat Hub, right? So we could do it from there.
oh, it is already have a programmatic access to the backend back AWS account.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm asking you, CellStrat Hub as a Linux terminal interface, right? So from there, it's a Cognito user. So I can run CDK from CellStrat Hub command line in the terminal.
You can, but it needs an escalated level of access to create resources.
Administrative access to AWS, right?
Almost like that,
For
yes.
that Cognito user.
Yeah, and I don't think that is recommended to provide to your CellStrat Hub users, right?
No, no, only the admin user
Oh,
will,
right. Okay, so if it is for admin, then yes, you can. Yes,
let's say, Bhavesh, Neeraj, or myself, right?
correct.
So
Yes, yes, you
we
can.
can
You
give
can.
ourselves admin access from CellStrat Hub terminal and do the same things there, right?
Yes, correct. Yes,
Okay.
Vivek. Yes. So CDK in it, it then creates an no uh, a, a project, a CDK project with all the boilerplate code for you. Okay. So now you can see that it has created. Now I'm going to open my VS Code ID. As you can see, all the different directories and different boiler codes are created for you. Okay, so the main component here is the app.py. So this is the main entry point for your CDK. So from here only the cloud formation template is synthesized for you. So here there is only one stack, which is called AWS Workshop Stack. Okay, and this AWS Workshop Stack is actually imported from this here. And if you actually get into that stack, so it has a Python file, and in that Python file you can see that we have created three resources. One is an SQS queue, one is an SNS topic, and we are actually subscribing to that topic. Okay, 3 lines of code. So this is a very basic stack we are building it. Okay, now the next step would be that I activate my environment. So I just go to this and then type this, and then my environment, virtual environment is created. And then what I do is I do pip install of the requirement. Since already my environment has that, it has said that a requirement satisfied, but you can also go and have a look into what are the requirements. So it has this AWS CDK library, Python library, and it also has this constructs library, and that is what we will be using here. We'll be using constructs, and we'll be using AWS CDK. So these are the two dependencies that we need, and that we have installed it using this requirements.txt file. Okay, so that is done. Now after that, um, you can have a, we already had a look into the code, and the next step is CDK synthesize. Okay, now I just go there, my thing, I'll just clear off all this, and then there is one single command, CDK synthesize, or for short it is synth, and it is going to create my cloud formation template. Okay, as you can see, the cloud formation template is created for me. You can see the resources. It has created one queue. Okay, and the queue policies, and then the topic, SNS topic has been created, and all the related properties, and all the other related metadata has been created for me. Okay, now as you can see, creating a queue, if you want to do it in a typical YAML template, you have to write so many lines in YAML, right, up to here. And then you should know how to write a YAML template, and all those things are there. Okay, now just compare it with how I created the queue in CDK with just single line of code. Okay, so it took this code, okay, and it understands that I want to create an SQS queue, and it, this is an L2 level constructs, and it actually creates my SQS queue with proven defaults for me. So the this proven defaults are, now what should be my other properties, what is my other what is the policies for my queue, all those things will be taken care for me. I don't have to worry about it. Okay, so now your YAML template is ready. Now if you actually want to just 1 second. Yes, so this is the CDK out. Okay, your all your templates will be created here, but here it creates this in JSON format, but we will not actually go and see it. But if you want to see it, you can actually see the cloud formation template. So this CDK out is when I run CDK synthesis, this folder is created for me, and inside that all my template is created. And you can see this is the cloud formation template. This was created by CDK for me. Okay, but this is in a JSON format. Okay, so that is done. So now the next step will be deploy this. Okay. Uh, Now in order to deploy that, now I have to log into my AWS account and activate uh, my access keys. Okay, and add required permissions. Okay, I'm not going to show that on screen for some security reasons. Okay, um, I'll just log in, but I will show you in IAM how you can do that. Okay, just give me a moment. I'm going to stop share. I'm going to log into my AWS account. Okay. Um. Hey, just 1 second. So I also nowadays use multi-factor authorization. So if anybody,
Yeah, even I use Authy or Google Authenticator app.
yeah, it's better actually.
It's
So my
recommended.
account was actually hacked. So I
It's
have to,
amazing. How can AWS be hacked? I mean, that I don't know how it could have happened.
yeah, it's kind of snake, but they are their support team is really helpful.
But because we run production environment now with
Mm,
CellStrat app, so that's why I set up, this Authy account.
okay, okay. Um, right. So I'm actually going to activate my programmatic access. Okay. Um, okay. So that's there, and um, okay. I think it's better that I show you this. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay. Um, okay. So as you can see, um, in this, actually, these are the permissions that I've added for this user. Okay. Okay, and in this there is no IAM access. Okay, if I don't allow IAM access, then it cannot create this CDK resources. So for that, what I have to do is I just go and I attach IAM full access, and then only it will the CDK will work. Okay. So now all is done. So I have a user account, I have a programmatic access to my AWS account, and all the required permissions has been added. So these are the required permissions. Okay. So now I can go and deploy it. Okay. So there is before that, if this is your first time, right, then you have to run CDK Bootstrap, which means that why that is required, I will just show you. Let's go into the cloud formation. Okay, this is where all your stack is created, your cloud formation stack. Now, as you can see, I already done a CDK Bootstrap. If I run CDK Bootstrap, it will actually create this CDK toolkit stack for me. So what this says, it states this is a stack includes resources needed to deploy AWS CDK apps into this environment. Okay. So this has all the dependencies for the CDK app to deploy resources. So that will be your prerequisite before you actually start deploying it. So since I already done, I'm not going to do it again. And this is region specific. If you change your region to some other, you have to again do CDK Bootstrap. Okay. So now, since I did that, I'm going to deploy this. So I just copy this command, and I have already generated my cloud formation template. So I just have to say CDK deploy. That's it. And it tells me what are the resources will be created for you, and it is asking confirmation. I say yes. It says CDK workshop deploying, and it creates a cloud formation change set, which is basically all the resources that you required for this stack. So in ours, it has an SQS queue, it has an SNS topic, and it has an SNS subscription, like basic example. So now you can see it also gives you the log how these resources are created for you. And if you actually jump to your cloud formation, you can see it is already in progress. Okay, the CDK workshop stack is in progress, and it can also see that this is one of the thing is completed, in progress, all those things logs will be displayed for you.
I mean, it's a lot of work, Bismillah. Does it really create huge efficiencies programmatically controlling DevOps?
Yes, it is like I mean, it is not a lot of work. The manual way of creating is a lot of work, right?
So if I have to manage very, very large AWS infra, then this is probably very efficient.
Yes, this is
But if I'm
the
managing, a few limited services, then maybe
no,
direct is fine, right?
direct test fine for beginner. This is not for beginner, so this is somewhat into intermediate to advanced level users. For
Hmm.
beginner, he is only learning AWS. Like he is only going to learn how to create S3 bucket. He will not directly jump into CDK to create S3 bucket. So he'll go and see, get used to the AWS management console, go to the S3 console and click create bucket and enter all those things. And that is how you begin to learn AWS. But
Hmm.
then once familiar with AWS, now you want to fill the full stack end-to-end deployment. Okay, and then you go for infrastructure as code. But in infrastructure as code, typically you create YAML templates. Okay, now what will be a next level of infrastructure as code? And that is like, can we use a Python programming itself to create this infrastructures? And that is the answer is the CDK.
Right.
Yeah, for beginner, yeah, this is a little bit advanced.
Are we seeing large companies with large AWS infra start transitioning to CDK?
Yes. So AWS CDK going forward could be a game changer. So for now, the majority of the companies, they are using YAML templates,
Okay.
right? In AWS, it is basically cloud formation template. Okay. Now there is a third-party tool like Terraform is there, Ansible is there, which actually takes care of a multi-cloud infrastructure as code. So you can create like one template, but you can also deploy it in AWS or in GCP or in Azure.
Oh, Terraform and Ansible do that. Huh?
Yes, correct.
They provide programmatic access to multi-cloud infra.
Yeah, you can create your infrastructure using Terraform template, but using one template, you can deploy it in either AWS or GCP or Azure. Let's say if you
So
want to
what?
create a bucket.
So why would I then use CDK if there is a more commercial grade solution like Ansible or Terraform?
Yeah, they are in YAML templates, right? So just I am just showing you visually. Do you want to write this much level of lines of
No, no, but
code?
you told me that Terraform and Ansible can do programmatic
No, no, no.
YAML.
Programmatic means declarative style programmatic.
Ah,
Yeah, it is like this, like you have to write templates like this,
even in
YAML
Ansible
templates.
Terraform. Huh? Okay,
Yes,
okay,
correct.
got it.
Only CDK supports this style of writing. Like you just write Python codes.
Right.
So Terraform is also like this only. So only thing is they support multi-cloud
Mm-hmm.
creation. Yeah. So now you can see my CDK stack is deployed. Okay, it is successful. Now you can go to the cloud formation. You can see it has been created, right? So now if you go into that, what are the resources it created? It created a queue. It created a topic, right? Now if you go into my SQS queue, you can see that. See, this has been created for me. Okay, CDK workshop queue and a CDK workshop topic has been created for me. Okay, now this is cool. Now let's say now I am done with my application. I want to destroy it. Okay, I want to just clean up. Then there's just like one single command that I would say, let me clear the screen. I would say destroy it. Now you know manual way of cleaning, right? You have to go to the SQS queue, delete it. You go to topic, delete it. Go to bucket, delete it. Suppose if you forgot to delete any one of it, then your build, you might be surprised with some huge builds. Now you can also see it in this one that it is getting deleted. You can see it is in deletes in progress. So all this are automated.
Cost side, the CDK will create highly cost optimized, services.
No, it does not do a cost analysis at the back end and try to optimize it, but that is our responsible.
Hmm. It will do what it thinks is best, regardless of cost. Right.
Right. Um, I mean, like if you're using this L2 constructs, right? Uh, let's okay, here it is, right? So it comes with the default things.
Hmm.
But those defaults are like a general purpose default. They are not like cost optimized, but they take care of in certain aspects. They include security as one of the important aspects, right? So they don't create a bucket which is open to public. So when you create an S3 bucket, it will be created with a good level of security included into it. It will not create a bucket which has open access. So as you can see, the entire stack is destroyed, and you can also go and verify it. Now you can see the CDK is removed, and also if you just refresh it, this is also cleaned up. And if you just refresh this, and this is also cleaned up. Okay, there is no more resources left. Yeah. So, so that is the quick introduction to what CDK is. Now to summarize, uh, so CDK improves developers experience, either it's an AA developer or a full stack developer. All your infrastructure and code is actually in one place, and this gives lot of flexibilities and makes your life simple. It is easy to define IAM policies. So normally what you do in IAM, if you want to go and create, then you have to create all this JSON style IAM policies, okay, which is again not so intuitive, right? So creating an IAM policy using Python code is more of straightforward than creating all this kind of flowery brackets and all those things. And then it actually enables quick refactoring of codes, reusability of codes. You can do snapshot test, compare the previous versions to the current changes. You can also do assertion test, like for example, it also comes with a PyTest thing. Let me just create this. So you can also build test, you can do unit test. You can check whether whether it has some quick accession test. Let's say you want to create only in US East 1 region, so you can check whether your CDK's stack is actually deployed in US East 1. So you can do an accession test about your regions, or some certain security checks you can do, right? You can also do that. And some validation rules test also is possible. So since this is an Python program, right, since you are actually building a Python program, you can do your test to check whether you might have a certain rules and regulations for your stacks, whether your stack passes all those tests. That also you can do. So all those validation is also possible. Let's say you only want to allow only one topic, right? Suppose it is creating accidentally creating many topics, so those kind of things also is done. So a cloud formation template will be created and deployed only if all these tests are passed. Okay, it is another additional checks that is also possible. So in one line, AWS CDK will be a game changer in infrastructure as code area, and it is a very developer friendly tool because you will be using your favorite programming language, and it will be in one place to manage all your cloud infrastructure resources. Okay, um, so that is for today's session. I think now we can open to questions and discussions.
So one question is, how is it different from Kubernetes?
Okay, so Kubernetes is an container orchestration tool, and which manages your container workloads. Okay, and in Kubernetes also uses YAML templates to create different Kubernetes objects like deployment, service, pods, right? So it also is a declarative style programming. You tell that this is my desired state of my Kubernetes clusters. I want these many pods. These pods should have this container, and this container should use this Docker image. And you should say that I need so many replicas. Okay. So the Kubernetes API server will actually, or the Kubernetes control manager checks what is the current state of my Kubernetes cluster, and then what is the desired state of my desired state from the YAML template, and then it ensures that it makes the required changes to move from the current state to the desired state. Okay, this is also one declarative style of programming. Okay, now as I said, is this the same problem? Like I want to do all my programming in YAML templates. Now can I do it in Python or can I do it in Java? That is the question. Yes,
Hmm.
then that is the CDK thing. So CDK also supports Kubernetes. So there is another extension of CDK called CDK for Kubernetes. Then you can use Python program to actually create Kubernetes resources.
Okay, got it.
Okay, if creating a Lambda using CDK, how can we specific code for it? Yes, so in that also is done within your I think I'm still sharing my screen. Okay, so in that also it will be created here. So which means that there will be another folder, let's say within this. Okay, and then that actually will have my Lambda functions. Okay, and then uh, and inside that Lambda function I might have a, let's say, a function dot py, and this function will have my Lambda handler, right? And then it will take something, oh, sorry, and then let's say it returns a hello world, something like that, right? Now you can actually create a stack. That's I'm not going into the, I'll just say like there will be like Lambda function. It's just a pseudocode, don't just take it. And then I'll say my code is actually sent in this folder. My code is in this folder and this is my Lambda function, and it will take the code from this and it creates a Lambda function for you. Okay, it's just a crude example, but just refer to the API for the correct syntax.
It's kind of a meta layer above AWS, a programmatic meta layer.
Yes.
So, uh, any other questions, audience?
Yeah. I think another Pulumi is also an equivalent to AWS CDK. But I have not used Pulumi as such. I don't know. Yeah. So this is like a third-party tool. So you can also write infrastructure in your Python. So like this. I don't know which one came first, whether Pulumi came first or CDK came first, but both are like similar. Yeah.
Is third party or AWS
This Pulumi,
just separate company? Huh? Okay,
yes, it's a separate company.
okay, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, this is what I meant, like all code in one place. So usually what you do, you develop your application. Okay, after you develop your application, then you have to create another thing for deploying your application, which is basically the infrastructure code. Now why can't all this be in one? and that is how we go for this. So now, actually, if you see how I created a Lambda function, both my infrastructure code and my application code are all into the same one thing, right? So this is my infrastructure code, which is creating my Lambda function, but my application code is instance in this function.py. So both are now very well integrated. Yeah, that's what they say, right? Infrastructure and applications together.
No, my Lambda code will remain in the Lambda microservice function. It will not come in this CDK code.
No, your Lambda function is here. Okay. It will
Okay.
take this and it will create a Lambda function for you in AWS.
So you are seeing Lambda functions there, huh?
Yeah, it will
In that
create
VS Code
Lambda.
editor.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I will write. See, whatever the Lambda function you create, right? Maybe I'll just
Because
put some
currently
more.
I see Lambda function when I go to Lambda service. So you can see it in this other editor, huh?
Yeah. So let's say, see, I'm not sure if this is an Python code or some other code. Okay, this is a container code. Wait,
So
see,
we have
normally
now,
what you do is this is how you create, right?
we write code here only in CellStrat or
You
what.
write code, right? Yes, but this can be created from here only. You write the same Lambda code here,
Oh, okay.
and then this will take that code from this folder and create a Lambda function for you in the AWS,
Oh,
and this code
interesting.
will be
Okay.
already be there for you.
Interesting. So you're saying application code and infra code is combined.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
So this is your application code,
Correct.
right? What you do is, like, you are creating a Lambda function and writing your application code here.
Mm-hmm.
Now CDK will create this Lambda function for you, and this function can actually go here.
Mm.
This, right? Then this will take this code and create a Lambda function for me. And if you see, open that Lambda function, this code will already be there.
Yes, got it. In CellStrat, we have so many such Lambda function codes, but we directly, run them in this editor.
Yeah.
There's one more question on chat, I think.
One second. Okay, I have to close this. What is Boto 3? So the Boto 3 is the Python API for AWS. Okay, I think that is the answer. So okay, so Boto 3 is basically the Python SDK for AWS. So once you install Boto 3, then you can, you can create, it's a similar thing, right? Create S3 bucket, but it will not create S3 bucket, right? We will only run some uh, right, let's say uploading an image to S3 bucket or downloading an image from S3 bucket. Only that will do. It will
I
not
think I
create an
think this
S3.
is programmatic access to the AWS services,
Yes, correct,
not
correct.
necessarily creating and provisioning services.
No, no, yeah,
It's just
correct, exactly,
accessing the AWS services from Python programming code.
exactly. Yes, correct.
There's a difference, big difference actually.
Mm. There is a question. A database like Neptune or RDS can be created in same way as Lambda using CDK. Yes, yes, yes. So all resources can be created. Okay. Or okay. Probably I just. mm, Okay, so this is your AWS CDK API reference. Okay, and this it supports multiple programming languages. And in this, if you go to Python, okay, and it has all the resources what it is all supported. Okay, now let's say we want to create an RDS, and you have to go to RDS, and then you just have to create an RDS like this. Yeah, it will tell you like how to create an RDS database. Let's say if you want to create an Aurora database, then it is created like this. Okay, so this has all the API references.
So after creating RDS or Neptune or DynamoDB, programmatically, do we also? I mean, how do we populate data? So that will be program application code, right?
That will be application code. So that will be your Python code.
Hmm.
That will be your Lambda function. So you have to write a Lambda function for that, and then populate that DynamoDB table in from this Lambda function.
Hmm. Right. So there is a clear distinction between what is infrastructure code, what is application code.
Correct. Um, yeah. Uh, so maybe yeah, Lambda function. So how you create a Lambda function? That's how you do, right? So Lambda function, give a name for it. What is the runtime you want, whether it's a Python or Node.js, right? Then what is the handler? Then tell where is your code, right? Where is your application code? So in this directory, and this is my function. As simple as that. So you can also use Docker image and create Lambda function. Yeah.
Or you can create Docker images from here, CDK.
Yes, correct. So you should have the Docker file,
Hmm.
and then you have your application code. Then you create a Docker file, and then you can say, hey,
Hmm.
can you create a Docker image and push it to my ECR, Amazon ECR, right?
Hmm.
So if there is an Amazon ECR is there, so how to create a Docker image from it.
Hmm. We have created our own CellStrat hub infrastructure code using hub init, hub build, hub deploy. So we have three utility functions which programmatically create the Docker image with API gateway. So in a way, we are doing what CDK could have done for the
Yes, correct.
API deployment piece.
Yes. Yeah, that is also it is an infrastructure automation, right? Like
Yes,
deployment
yes.
automation, right?
Pravesh has
So
created three utilities for that.
mm, did we had any sessions how it works under the hood, or that is not
Which one?
uh,
Which one?
like how this hub init works?
No, no, that
Uh,
is, I think, shell coding or some kind of, I don't know what Bhavesh has done. It is some shell coding or something. And it basically, you have to set up a certain folder in a certain way in Cell Setup. And then using Hub in it, it initiates the Docker image, and Hub builds the Docker image, and Hub deploy deploys it as an API. So he has created a wrapper shell code, I think, around the whole Docker deployment process. So, but I think that could have been done with CDK. But anyway, for Hub, we have a API deployment, meta layer, a programmatic shell interface.
Yes, yes. So it
So
is similar like Bhavesh created the CellStrat version of CDK,
kind of, but just three, four
but
commands, just for the
three per command. Yeah.
Docker and API. So yeah, you can say it is our version of CDK. Uh,
Yeah.
so actually, we are also exploring migration to CDK for more commercial grade, because now we are in enterprise solution space, and we'll be onboarding a lot of enterprise clients. So maybe a CDK driven, provisioning capability would be more robust and scalable than manually provisioning services for every enterprise client.
Yes, yes.
So Bhavesh was exploring CDK actually in the
Okay, okay.
roadmap.
I think uh, it is not that difficult to learn, I think. I mean, for an intermediate users, if you are completely new to AWS, yeah, it's not advisable to start from CDK. Probably you get used to how to create manual resources.
This
Just
is only
learn.
for folks who are already dealing with AWS, right?
Correct.
So
Yes.
not for a newbie who don't even know AWS infrastructure, management.
Yes.
So
Yes.
okay, any other questions, audience? Very interesting session.
Yeah, I think it was very good. It's a good start.
Yeah, I agree with that. Neha is asking, can we create policies too? You mean
Yes. Yes.
IAM policies, Neha?
And for you, Vivek, you might need some sort of SageMaker kind of tools for you know CDK using MLN or no.
We have created a SageMaker competitor actually. We call it CellStrat Hub. So we have you can try cellstrathub.com, and you can request an account creation. We can create your free tier account. So we are competing with SageMaker. We have our own, competitive
Pipeline.
SageMaker.
Okay.
We have
Yeah.
a marketplace as well. So if you explore CellStrat Hub, you'll find it's quite an extensive platform with an AI project marketplace, a model zoo, as we call it in AI word. So yes, IAM policies can be created programmatically from CDK, right, Bismillah?
Yes. Yes. Probably I'll just quickly show that in this. Yeah, so you can hear all are available. So it is if you go to IAGHI, yeah, so here you can create IAM policies. So just to give you an overview, so you can create a role, you can add policies, all those things, right? So I created a role and I added a policy that allows Lambda invoke permission for all the resources.
For this code pipeline, no, you can integrate right through GitHub or whatever.
You mean CI/CD pipelines?
Yeah.
Yes. CDK, AWS, SAM, all works with CI/CD pipelines. Yes. So, like, if there is any code change or update that you make to your application code or your infrastructure code, and then if you just push that to your, let's say, dev branch or production branch, then this entire process, right, a CDK synthesize, CDK deploy will be triggered.
So the Jenkins job will be done here. Huh?
You can integrate Jenkins also with CDK. Yes. Probably that will be another session we will explore that. So this is only an introduction to CDK, but it is capable of doing that. Um,
Okay.
Okay, any other questions, folks? So, all right. So, Bismillah, are we good?
Yes, Vivek, good. Yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity, and also thank you for the interesting questions and listening patiently. Looking forward to another session in future.
Thanks a lot, Bismillah. Very critical topic, introducing this. Yeah, Bismillah, if you don't mind, share this blog right here with
Oh
our
yeah,
audience,
okay. One
so they
second.
can see this whole blog. It's your blog, right, on Notion.
Yeah, I'm sharing that.
So all of you can see this blog Bismillah has written, and you can follow this. And on LinkedIn, of course, you can find all of us by name. Just look for CellStrat. You'll find a lot of CellStrat resources on LinkedIn. So reach out to me. This is Vivek at CellStrat. If you want to work with us as an intern or AI researcher, we have a huge AI research community, and we keep presenting such sessions frequently. And so thanks a lot, Bismillah. Excellent session, and look forward to your next set of webinars. And thank you, audience, for joining. We'll see you in our next webinar, which is, I think, few weeks from now.
You
Thank you all. Bye.